My name is Peter Girguis. I'm on the faculty here at Harvard University, and I have the great pleasure of leading this team of deep sea biologists.
My name is Ian Hughes. I'm a second-year PhD student.
My name is Brooke Travis. I am a PhD candidate.
I'm Mark Little, postdoctoral researcher.
I am Federica Calabrese, and I'm a postdoc.
My name's Andrea, and I am a postdoc here in the Girguis lab.
One of my favorite quotes is by Arthur C. Clarke, the famed science fiction writer who once said, "It's how inappropriate to call this planet Earth when it's clearly ocean." The ocean is the largest part of our planet's habitable space. And the deep sea, where we do most of our research, the part of the ocean that's beyond the reach of sunlight, is 80% of our planet's living space. And it's the part of our world that we know the least about. So the deep sea is also probably home to much of Earth's biodiversity. And by that I mean different kinds of organisms. But because of its being in perpetual darkness, there are no plants or algae down there that photosynthesize. And so they depend on the food that comes down from the upper ocean, where photosynthesis is happening. It's like being at a buffet where you're last in line. And you know that what you're going to be stuck with are the dredges, right? Everybody's taken all the good stuff, and what's left is, okay. That's what it's like for a lot of these deep sea organisms. It's those dredges that create a lot of the really cool diversity we see in animals and their feeding strategies. So the deep sea's got crazy animals, fishes who make a living by eating one big meal every few months. Other animals that make snot curtains that they use to pick up just little bits of goo in the water, and then they eat it, and that's how they gain their nutrition. Other animals, like sea cucumbers, that live on the seafloor and just eat dirt and try to extract what they can out of that sediment, any nutrition that they can get. So it's an amazing place with so many different kinds of organisms, all of whom are trying to make a living off these meager sort of table scraps, if you will.
Microbial and animal and microbial, sort of all these interactions are happening all over the ocean and all over the world. And I think that was really cool to sort of say, like, wow, this is much more common than we think it is, and we don't know very much about it. It's like an exciting moment to be studying these things.
I love microbes and their stunning versatility and variability, and what's more stunning for me is that we usually consider rocks and minerals as something that is void of life, but instead they can, host a huge variety of microbes, and they can be hotspots for life to thrive.
I love that when I am thinking about the deep sea, I'm constantly challenged to get out of my comfort zone and think about what it would be like to be an organism thriving in these conditions.
When I started looking for faculty positions, I knew that I wanted to continue this line of research, to lead a lab, to lead a team that was really interested in understanding how these organisms, animals and microbes, make a living in the deep sea. And you can't really get at that without recreating the conditions here in the laboratory. So that's a lot of what we do, is we make systems that allow us to recreate the conditions in the deep sea, and we keep animals alive and microbes alive, and we study them under those conditions. And those tools start with pressure vessels. Think of those as aquaria that we can pressurize to the conditions we find on the seafloor. So very often we pressurize those aquaria to 4,000 pounds per square inch. By comparison, the pressure in your tires is about 40 pounds per square inch. In this lab, we took those pressurized aquaria and we took it up a notch, because we said, let's try and pump those with seawater that has the chemical composition we find at deep sea hydrothermal vents or at deep sea methane seeps. Or let's try and add minerals that are similar to what we find on the seafloor.
I love using the HPRS, our high pressure respirometry system at sea. It's really cool to be able to keep deep sea animals alive. I mean, it's so rare that anyone can even do that.
We are on a time where different technologies are allowing us to, really explore the unseen or the unexplored.
And so I would say that our lab is perhaps best known for building these high pressure life support systems. And perhaps our most famous innovation is our mobile high pressure laboratory. We took an intermodal shipping container, like you would see on a railroad car or the back of a freight truck, and we outfitted it with lots of pressure vessels and high pressure pumps and chemical analyzers, a wireless network, you name it, that allows us to put this container on a ship at sea, maintain animals and microbes at those in situ conditions or seafloor conditions, and even have Zoom calls right back to shore so we can talk to our colleagues and advise one another on how best to do those experiments. So I'd say that's a great example of the kind of innovation that this team likes to lead and likes to do, and equally important, likes to share with the rest of the world.
Making science fun for others can be a very, engaging experience and really fun and really fulfilling.
Here at Harvard University, we're surrounded by brilliant scholars from so many different areas and disciplines and with so many different perspectives. I try and bring in individuals who really resonate with the lab culture and bring in their own kind of expertise.
My research is primarily focused on chemosymbiosis.
What I research is the coral holobionts.
Mineral microbes interaction.
Symbiotic relationships in deep sea animals.
The collaboration between animals and microbes to create the perfect chemical environment for shells to form.
And by creating a team where each individual brings their own expertise to the table and has a chance to learn from others, we really do function like a tiny little oceanographic institution right here in the middle of Cambridge.
Girguis lab is diverse.
Girguis lab is very interdisciplinary.
I know everybody does deep sea stuff around here, but really what they do is they look at the holobiont, right, which are these interactions between organisms and the microbes that live on them. It's a cool collaborative environment to be in.
What I like the most is that each of us as members, we work in different topics, but it's very nice because we can see like the big pictures and we can see how the different topics and the different projects fits in a bigger picture and a bigger overview related to deep sea studies.
I can utilize every component of intellectual curiosity that I wanted to. I could work in the marine environment. I could work on the molecular level and also change my perspective and think about these organisms in this different environment.
So for me, collaborating first and foremost means sharing what we have to share with others. And in the case of this lab, it's our technologies by and large. But it's also important that we listen, and we have many collaborators around the world from many other countries and many other walks of life with their many perspectives. It's easy to fall in the trap of thinking that because we're resource replete and we're at the leading edge of what we do, I suppose, that we have all the answers. But colleagues in other parts of the world, many of whom have fewer resources than we do, have as much to offer to science as any of us. And so I love collaborations where we get to teach one another, because what emerges from that is something that's greater than the sum of its parts. I think sometimes we humans get caught up in the idea that one particular group is the best at what they do, or that there's a world leader in something. And I think an important thing for me that I try to share with this team is that we all have something important to say and something important to offer. And working with a diversity of folks and listening to what everyone has to say is how I learn new things all the time. And I think it's important not to go in to science thinking that you have the answers, but to be perennially curious. And if you can remain curious till the day you retire and keep that open mind about new ideas, you're going to have a lot of fun and be a part of a lot of fantastic discoveries.